everyone, this is Crystal and I'm back with week 5 in my creativity journal. This is a memory planning format I'm using to document my creative journey this year. You can see I already have my photos printed out. These are projects that I was working on or shared this week, things that I was doing in my craft room, and also I have a couple here that were actually things that other people shared that I wanted to make sure I document as well. For this week, I am going to be using the Hey Crafty Girl, I believe it's called, collection from Simple Stories, but I'm actually using the digital version of that. So in case you didn't know, Simple Stories does have a digital shop on their website, and you can pick up most of their collections digitally. So that's what I did. I bought the collection kit, which means you get all of the papers, all of the cards, and all of the stickers digitally. So I printed them to fit this format. So this is what I have. It's quite a lot, but I have the cards printed down in size. So these are normally 3x4 cards. I've printed them to fit inside these squares. The 4x6 cards I've printed to fit across 2 squares, and then there are these smaller square ones that also fit inside those squares as well. All of the rest of the stickers and things I just kind of printed in a random size, what I thought would be small enough to work in this format. There are duplicates of some of them so that I can use this for a while. I just wanted to fill up my sticker sheets. These are printed on sticker paper. And then for the papers, I decided to print a sampling of all of them. Actually, this is not all of them. It's a lot of them, but not all of them. And I printed them in the same width as these squares, actually slightly larger than these squares. And I thought that would be the widest I would want them anyway. And then I could print a bunch also on sticker paper. And then they kind of work like washi tape. So they're kind of like washi strips once I use them on the page. So anyway, that is what I have. I've also pulled out a few other things. I have this set of alphas from Let Your Heart Decide from Pinkfresh Studio. I have this super old set of basic gray tiny alphas because I wanted to add some neutrals to this spread because it's a very colorful collection. I have very colorful photos. I did grab a bunch of different stamps as well, just ones that caught my eye that I thought might work for this week. So I've already printed up all of my journaling. I just typed it up on some of the labels from the digital kit. I hand wrote some of it as well on a card. So that's all done. All that's left really is to put it all down on the page and then embellish. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you on fast forward and just get started.
Okay, so I have my photos laid out on this spread already, but this is not where they're going to stay. I just laid them down on the day where they belong, and then I will kind of stagger them around the spread so that they're not just in a solid line across the top of the page. And for some reason, when I trimmed them out the first time and when I printed them, I left a white border around them, which doesn't work because it makes them too big to fit into the squares. So I'm going to go through and trim all those white borders off for each of the photos. And as I'm doing that, I'm just adding the journaling that I already have printed out, making space for it, making sure it fits where I want it to, and then kind of moving things around and getting everything spread out on this layout. So you can see I moved that photo over a day actually because it actually applies to the whole week, not just a particular day. I spent a lot of time working on a brand new class that I have coming out that I'm very excited about. It will be out next month at Big Picture Classes, that is. I'll have more details on that coming soon, but that is what that little bit is about. And if you read the journaling, then you'll read that I do have a class coming out, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned it so that you understood that's what was going on, and to let you know that I'll have more information coming very soon. Okay, so everything's trimmed out and the journaling is laid out where I think I'm going to want it. All of those journaling pieces are actually printed on sticker paper except for the one that I hand wrote. I printed the cards on regular cardstock and printed all of the other things on sticker paper. So I ran that through my typewriter by just using a removable adhesive on the back of the sticker paper and attached it to just a piece of scratch paper, actually this piece of scratch paper that I'm using right now, and ran them through my typewriter that way. That was the easiest way I could think of. They're pretty small, so it would be pretty hard to run them through without attaching them to something. I am making a little flip up for these two images. These are screenshots of a YouTube channel. This is Dearly Dee's channel. She was kind enough to include me in her January favorites, and I was incredibly flattered to be included in her list of favorites. So I screenshotted the video and a few of the comments because some of our mutual followers were very flattering to me, and I wanted to remember that. So I have added both of those. I didn't need both of them to be visible. I did want to include them both, but to do that, I just added them as a little flip up. So to do that, I just trimmed off a little piece of paper and scored it down the center and then glued the two photos to that paper so that it would serve as a flip up. And then to cover the back side, I'm just adding some of the sticker paper. This is one of the papers from the kit that I printed on sticker paper, and I didn't get it straight and it totally stuck down, and I didn't want to redo the whole thing, so I just let it be. It's a little bit crooked, but I'm just gonna live with it. So once I have that in place, I can glue that down to the actual page using my tape runner, and that's it. That's my little flip up pocket. So I do have some journaling that I'm going to add right next to that I typed up on one of these labels, and that's going to go in the box right next door. And then I think I go through and start adhering everything down. So there is a photo just above that is of a layout that I shared this week. Right now I am taking the sticker paper off of another label. This is where I talked about the big picture class that I was working on all of this week, doing some final editing and final typing up of all the things that need to be done for a class. It's a lot of work. In case you weren't aware, creating classes is a lot of work, but it's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. So I'm super excited to have my first one just about to launch. And like I said, I will share lots more details as we get closer to the launch date. So I also shared a random fall layout this week. I was struggling with a part of my class and kind of procrastinating. So I pulled out this layout that I had started back in October or November maybe and hadn't finished, and decided to finish it randomly this week. So I also posted it on Instagram and talked about it. So I just copied my text from Instagram. I actually did that with several of the posts from this week. It's something that I do when I write more than just here's a layout I'm sharing, which is something I tend to do when I am pressed for time and just need to get something shared. Then I don't write a lot, but I prefer to write more on Instagram and share more if I can. It just doesn't always work out that way. So this week I happened to do that a couple times. So I was able just to grab the text from my Instagram posts and add it to my journaling here. And I also added a quote from a book I was reading this week. That is what's on that circle label. It's a quote from the book Embrace Your Weird by Felicia Day. She writes a lot about creativity in that book, so there were a lot of really quotable pieces. I just picked one that seemed appropriate for this spread and typed it up onto that label. I also used some of the paper stickers that I created to use kind of like washi at the bottom of the page below that circle label, and then I added it across the page to the top right as well, just to tie the two together. And then I'm working on my title. So the pink fresh Let Your Heart Decide stickers matched this collection so well. I knew I had to use them. I've had them in my stash for forever, and I don't think I'd used them at all before this, so it was nice to get those used. I'm just going to create a little bit of a cluster at the top of the left-hand side of the page to give my title somewhere to sit, to kind of ground it and make it feel like it's not just floating up there. So I decided to use two of the labels from this collection that I've printed on sticker paper, and I'm just using kind of half of each one and creating a little cluster. And then I can add my week title below that. And it was a little bit long to add the 5 to the right of the week. So I decided to add it below, and to make it make a little bit more sense, I am just going to add a little cluster of flowers, a little floral cluster embellishment from this kit to kind of fill in that space, and it brings in all of the colors up there as well. So there are a lot of embellishments in this collection. Like I said, when you get the digital set, you just kind of get all of the individual PNGs of all of these icons. So it's not like you get a printable sheet. It's up to you to print them how you want them, or if you want them. So I just took them all individually into Photoshop. I did not print them all. I printed selectively the ones I thought I would want to use, especially for this spread. I brought them into Photoshop and then created a canvas on an 8.5 by 11 because that's the size of sticker paper that I have, and resized them and just collaged them onto that canvas so that I could print and use up as much of my sticker paper as possible so that I didn't waste it. And that's how I did it. Without a program like Photoshop, it would definitely be harder to do that, but it certainly is possible. You could do the same thing in a word processing software like Microsoft Word or something like that. I just am more comfortable with Photoshop, so that is what I use. So these are not going to be the same size as the stickers that you would get if you bought the physical collection. These are going to be totally randomly sized bits and pieces from my little session of editing them. So I just wanted to make that clear that this is not going to be the same. So if you buy the physical collection, it's not going to look the same as this. But if you are able to edit them in some way, then you can get them to look this way if you choose. And of course, it is a bit cheaper to buy the digital collection as well. I had a conversation about that recently with one of my followers on Instagram. And yeah, it definitely is cheaper to buy the digital collection. And of course, you can print it as many times as you want. But there is some cost involved still. I had to buy the sticker paper. I spend a lot on ink. But for me, I prefer for some collections to have them digitally, just so that I can resize them for whatever project I decide to use them for. So I have been going through this humongous pile of little stickers for a while now. I'm just kind of plunking things down, trying to make everything fit onto this page, just choosing the ones that I liked the most, really, or that worked with some of the stories I had to tell this week, and just trying to fill up as many of the spaces as possible. So there are lots of little icons. I'll come back here in a minute and fill in some of the blank spaces with some of those little icons. I think I used the paper clips to fill in a few of the spaces. And I'm also trying to get a good balance of color. So you may have seen me just a minute ago kind of moving my finger around the spread. I was making sure that I had groups of 3 of most of the colors. So like that dark teal, I was making sure it showed up in 3 different places, same with the yellow and same with the green. So I was specifically looking for embellishments that would round out those sets of 3 if I didn't have them. So that's what I was doing. And now that I'm pretty happy with where things are, I can start adhering all of this down. And I've said it before, the one thing I'm not crazy about this sticker paper is that it does take quite a bit of time to get the backing started to peel it off. I am getting a little bit better at it the more that I use it. So it didn't take me maybe quite as long as it did the first time, but it's still pretty annoying, and I should maybe start not waiting to do it all at once. That might help. It might be less frustrating if I didn't try and adhere all of it down at once and maybe did a bit more of adhering as I went. But by the end, I was pretty done with sticker paper. After peeling off the backing of all of these little stickers, I was ready to just grab my adhesive and get things stuck down. So while I do all of that, I will just say that I am a little bit disappointed in the light quality of this video, and it's something I've been having a bit of trouble with lately, and I'm not exactly sure why. Like I've said before, I use the exact same lighting setup for all of my videos, so I'm not sure why all of a sudden they're coming out a bit darker and a bit harder to see in some areas. But that is something I am going to have to look into and see if I can figure out what the problem is and hopefully change it for the better. I know that it can be hard to film white on white, so switching to a darker background might help, but I really like working on a white surface, so I'm not sure that that's really going to be an option for me. But I will look into it and see if I can figure out some way of improving the lighting here, because it's light in person when I'm working on it, so I'm not really sure why it doesn't show up lighter than it does. But anyway, I've moved on now to the second side, the right-hand side of this spread, and am adding all of the stickers there as well. This collection, of course, is perfect for this kind of journal, right? It has all of the little crafty icons and sayings and everything you could possibly imagine wanting to include in an album like this. It shows up in this collection. So I knew I had to get it when I saw it come out, because it's just too perfect for this and for really any documenting of your creative pursuits, even if you don't do necessarily a creativity journal, so to speak. If you document your creativity at all, this is an excellent collection to use for that. And this is not a paid promotion by any means. I purchased this with my own money just because I loved it. I definitely don't get any kickbacks from this one. So I will definitely leave the link to the Simple Stories store, their digital store, down below. You do have to sign up for an account on their site to access their digital store, or at least to see the prices and be able to purchase. But it's super simple to do that. And then you get access to pretty much their entire catalog of collections in digital formats, which is pretty cool. In fact, I think there are a few I may go back and purchase that I missed the first time around and thought they might be fun to have in digital. And then, of course, once you have them digitally, you can resize them any size you want, like I've done with this spread. So it's especially good for spreads that you maybe want to use in a smaller format, like a memory planner or a traveler's notebook, and want them to be a bit smaller than you would get in that large 12x12 collection pack. Okay, so I am nearly finished now. I've nearly got everything stuck down. Once everything is stuck down, there's very little left to do with this spread. So I have to do a little bit of handwritten journaling. I also want to add the months, because this spread is both January and February. I wanted to make sure that I added the month on here somewhere. So I'm using these tiny alphas from Basic Gray. There were some neutrals in my photos that I thought would work well with these gray letters, so that's why I chose them. And they are some of my favorites that I totally forgot I had. So when I went to my stash of letter stickers to find some that would work, these were kind of tucked in behind another set, and I had passed them over many times before and totally forgotten that they were there. So I was happy to find them again and happy to get them used on this spread. And can you see how many E's are in this letter sticker set? There are more E's than I have ever seen in any other letter sticker set. And it had me wondering, why can't all letter sticker sets have this many E's? Because for once, I may not run out of E's before I run out of everything else on this sheet. So yeah, they don't make these anymore, but they are definitely some of my favorites, and I have several sets in several different colors, so I am definitely hoarding some of them. Okay, I had to move over February a little bit because it was a little bit too far to the right and didn't quite all fit, so I just had to move all those letters over. And then that is my title all done, and I can go in and add a few lines of handwritten journaling. I don't have a lot more to say than what I've already added, but I do have a couple of places I want to add in a bit of handwritten journaling. Actually, maybe just that one place where I had added a label, and then I'm going to stamp the date. The labels that I printed have a little spot for the date at the top, so I figured why not go ahead and stamp the date in there, even though the date is obviously at the top of each of these calendar columns. I figure it can't hurt to add it in again. And I do have that little date stamp sticker on the page, so why not use my actual date stamp? Okay, so I'm just looking through the stamps to see if there was anything that I wanted to add. I'm just checking over the page and then realized I wanted to add an embellishment underneath that flip up, so I went ahead and added a sticker there. And then I thought about adding a tab to the side of the flip up. I thought adding a tab there would be good because it would indicate that it actually flips up. But because this isn't going into a pocket, it's not entirely necessary. And I tried using this older Jenny Bolin tab punch, but I just didn't like the way it looked. So I ended up leaving it off, and I just add that to the stash for later. And that's the page all done. So here are some photos, some close-up photos of all of the pages all finished. I hope that you've enjoyed watching this video and have found some inspiration in what I've done. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all back here very soon.